Okay, let's get into this. We have a really fascinating document in front of us today.
We do.
It's not, a textbook. It's not a news article, and it's definitely not some dense scientific paper. It's a script.
That's right, and a very specific kind of script. It's a comprehensive English learning module. The title is Episode 1, Are We Surrounded? And it's part of a larger project called the Tech Life series.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to break this script down. We're going to really look at how it's engineered, I guess, to help English learners talk about two huge topics, daily routines and technology.
And we're not just reading it, right?
Yeah.
We're analyzing how it teaches. We're trying to look at the mechanics under the hood, so to speak.
Exactly. And the source material itself is pretty unusual. It's labeled right at the top as an expanded podcast script.
Yeah, and the notes that come with it, these production notes, they're incredibly revealing. They state a very clear goal.
Which is?
To increase the listening duration to somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes.
I saw that note. You use this really interesting phrase, adding fully. It's like they want to fill it up completely. The goal isn't just to have a conversation. It's to make that conversation immersive.
It is. It's like they're trying to stretch the fabric of the conversation so the learner can almost, wrap themselves in it. It's about creating an environment, not just delivering information.
And that seems so key for the kind of learner profile we're talking to today. I mean, if you're learning a language, you don't just want a list of words to memorize. That's not how it works.
No, you need context. You need time. And this script explicitly builds that in. It has specific instructions for spelling out words. It has pronunciation tips, personal stories, and my favorite part, something it calls practice pauses.
I love that concept, the practice pause. So for everyone listening, if you're trying to master the vocabulary of your everyday life, waking up, making coffee, dealing with your phone,
all that stuff,
without feeling totally overwhelmed by like a tidal wave of difficult words, this is for you. We're going to show you how a script like this is designed to bridge that gap between just knowing a word and actually being able to use it in a sentence.
And here's the hook, really. The most meaningful language learning, the kind that actually sticks, happens when we connect words to what we do.
To our actual lives.
Exactly. And this source material frames that perfectly. It takes these big, sometimes scary, high-tech concepts and puts them right next to the mundane act of making breakfast. It puts technology right beside your toast and coffee.
I love that. Okay, so let's start there. Let's dive into the philosophy behind it first. Section 1 of our discussion, this expansion philosophy, the source even includes these notes from a producer character who's called AI Brother.
Right. AI Brother's production notes. And these notes are just fascinating because they reveal the strategy behind the learning. Normally, we just hear the final product.
We just hear the polished conversation.
Yeah, we hear the hosts talking. But here, we're seeing the instructions to the hosts. The note explicitly says, to reach a length of over 15 minutes, we must add more detailed spelling, pronunciation tips, and personal stories.
It's interesting that length is seen as a feature, not a bug. Usually in media today, everything's about being short, snappy. Give me the TikTok version.
For sure.
But the source argues for making it longer. Why do you think that is? Why drag it out?
I think it's all about immersion and something called cognitive load. The note uses that term adding fully. If you just rush through a dialogue, the learner's brain, it just doesn't have time to latch on to the new words, the new structures.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Well, imagine someone is throwing a ball at you. If they throw it at 100 miles an hour, what do?
You flinch or duck.
You duck. You protect yourself. You don't catch it. But if they toss it gently, you have time to see it, to adjust, to put your hands up and catch it. By expanding the script, they're slowing down the pitch. They're creating a safe space where the listener's brain can actually relax and absorb the information.
That makes a lot of sense. It's the difference between, say, a fast food meal you inhale in 2 minutes and a slow multi-course dinner.
Yeah.
You just digest it differently.
Completely differently.
So let's look at the specific techniques they use to slow things down. The first one you mentioned is spelling, or what the source calls the slowdown.
Yes. The script gives a direct instruction to the speaker to spell out words like T-E-C-N-O-L-O-G-Y.
And T-E-C-H-S-A-V-V-Y.
Right. But it's not just spell them. The note is more specific. It says slowly, or even repeat it once. The pacing is intentional.
I noticed that. It feels a little, old school, almost like a spelling bee. Or like when you're on the phone with customer service and you have to spell out your email address.
Right. J as in Jupiter, A as in...
Exactly. But in a learning podcast, why is that so important?
Because it forces visualization. When you hear a long, complex word like technology, especially if English isn't your first language, it can just sound like a blur of noise. The syllables can all blend together.
It becomes one long sound.
It does. But when the host in the script spells it out letter by letter, it forces your brain to construct the word visually. It bridges that critical gap between the sound of the word and the text of the word. It's like you can almost see the letters floating in the air in front of you.
That's a great way to put it. It turns the audio into a kind of mental whiteboard, the pause button for your brain.
And speaking of pauses, that brings us to the next technique.
The 15-second long pauses. They even give it a special name.
They do. They call it golden time.
Golden time. I love that.
It sounds so valuable, doesn't it? And the production notes are really clear on this. They say, and I'm quoting here, "These are golden times. Please keep them and accompany them with soft transition music."
So it's not just dead air. Because as a broadcaster, I can tell you, dead air is the ultimate nightmare. 15 seconds of silence feels like an eternity.
It would in a normal show, but this is active silence. In a typical conversation, if there's 15 seconds of silence, you'd think the connection dropped or something went wrong.
For sure. You'd be checking your phone.
But in a learning script like this, that silence is where the magic happens. It's the moment the listener actually gets to do the work. They get to repeat the sentence out loud, process the grammar, try to mimic the accent.
Without the pressure of the next sentence immediately piling on top of it.
Exactly. Without that pause, the information just flows in one ear and out the other. The golden time gives the brain a moment to hit the save button.
So the music is just there to signal, hey, we haven't hung up on you. The show hasn't ended.
We're just giving you a moment to work.
It turns the listener from a passive audience member into an active participant. They're not just listening, they're rehearsing. Okay, this is really smart design. The notes also mention adding warmth through something called story expansion.
Yes, this is another key part of the philosophy. They specifically suggest adding 2 to 3 minutes of detail to personal stories.
And the example they give is about a blender, of all things.
Right. They don't want the character to just say, "I have a blender." That's a textbook sentence. I mean, it's grammatically correct, but it's cold, it's boring.
It has no personality.
Zero. Instead, they want the character to say something like, "I feel like I am flying a plane just to make a banana smoothie."
That is such a specific and funny image. Flying a plane.
And that detail, that a little bit of exaggeration, it creates an emotional hook. You will remember the flying a plane image much, much better than you'll remember the simple sentence, "I have a blender."
It's a memory aid.
A powerful one. Humor and exaggeration, they're like little flags for your brain that say, hey, remember this. It adds that warmth the producer is looking for. It makes the characters, Mary and John, feel like friends you're chatting with, not just robots reciting lines.
That's a perfect transition, actually. We've talked about the method, the how. Now let's talk about the content, the what. Section 2 of the script's theme. Are we surrounded?
Right. And the script opens with these two characters, Mary and John.
Very classic, accessible names.
Very. And they're in what's described as an audio room. It immediately sets this very intimate, welcoming stage. It feels like a safe harbor for the learner.
And they get right into it. The script has Mary welcoming the listeners, and then John immediately points out where those listeners might be.
And the list he gives is so telling. He says cooking, walking, or maybe even hiding in the bathroom for some peace.
I laughed when I read that.
Me too, because it's so true. That line is absolutely crucial. It acknowledges the reality of the adult learner. They're not sitting in a pristine classroom with a notebook.
No, they're busy. They've got jobs, kids, responsibilities. They are squeezing this deep dive into the little cracks and crevices of their day.
Hiding in the bathroom really resonated with me. Sometimes that's the only place you can get 5 minutes to yourself to think.
I know that feeling well.
And by acknowledging that, by saying that out loud, John builds this immediate rapport. He's essentially saying, I see you, I know your life is chaotic, and this moment is for you. It validates the effort they're making to learn.
And then, after establishing that connection, they drop the big question for the episode. Technology is amazing, but are we surrounded?
And this is where they have to define technology. I really appreciate how the source handles this, because usually when we say tech, our minds immediately jump to Silicon Valley.
Right. Coding, startups, AI.
The character Don even asks that. He says, is it just iPhones and AI?
Which is what a lot of us think. Technology equals the internet. It equals the thing in my pocket. But Mary, the other character, She corrects him.
She does. She offers this very broad, very useful, and very accurate definition. She says, technology is just using science to make tools that help us.
Using science to make tools. That really widens the lens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then she uses the perfect example to illustrate it.
The washing machine.
Yes. The washing machine example. This was a brilliant moment in the script. She compares a modern smartphone to her grandmother's old washing machine.
And by doing that, she validates that the old washing machine is technology. It's not just some old piece of metal. It connects the concept of tech to history, not just the present moment.
It helps the learner understand that technology isn't just the glowing screen in front of them. It's the entire infrastructure of their life. Back in, say, the 1950s or 60s, an automatic washing machine was a miracle. It was the iPhone of its day.
It absolutely was. It saved hours and hours of manual labor. It completely changed the structure of daily life, especially for women.
So, by making that comparison, she takes the intimidation factor out of the word technology. It's not just about these magic boxes made by geniuses. It's just about tools we use to get through the day.
Precisely. And that leads us to the first big vocabulary spotlight from the source. They take the word.
Technology.
And they spell it out. Technology.
And following those production notes we just talked about, they give it space. They slow it down. It's a clear signal to the listener. This is a core concept. Pay attention. Visualize these letters.
It's the anchor for the entire episode.
Okay, so we've established what technology is. But the next question is, are we any good at using it? That takes us to section 3 in our next key term, tech savvy.
This is one of my favorite terms in the whole script. Tech savvy. Tech-savvy. That word, savvy. It's such a great English word.
What does it really mean?
It means having a kind of shrewdness, a practical knowledge about something. It's not academic knowledge, it's street smarts, but for a specific topic. In this case, technology.
And the script sets up this really funny scale of ability. It gives you 2 endpoints. On the low end, you have lost with a TV remote.
We all know that person. I might be that person sometimes.
The person who accidentally hits the input button and suddenly the screen goes blue and panic just sets in.
Total panic. And then on the high end of the scale, you have secret hacker.
So the character John is asked to rate himself on this scale. And he gives himself a very modest 5 out of 10.
Which is just so relatable. He's not a complete Luddite who's afraid of a toaster, but he's not an expert either. He's average. He's most of us.
And he shares this little anecdote to explain his rating that I found hilarious.
The king versus bomb story.
Exactly. He says when his phone works perfectly, when he's swiping and clicking and ordering food to his door, he feels like a king. He feels powerful, in control.
But then the flip side, the moment his TV flashes a message that says new update available, he says he just stares at it like it's a bomb.
That contrast, king versus bomb, is such brilliant writing for a language learner. It perfectly captures the emotional volatility of interacting with modern gadgets.
It really does. One minute you are the master of the universe, the next minute you are completely terrified that you're going to press the wrong button and break everything.
It's so true. That little dialogue box pops up and you think, if I press OK, will my entire TV just disappear? Will the screen go black forever?
It totally validates that anxiety that so many people feel. And here's where the script pivots into a pedagogical moment, a real teaching moment.
Right. The script explicitly prompts the listener to practice a specific sentence, a negative sentence.
Yes, I am not very tech savvy. And then, pan, there it is, the 15-second golden time pause.
So why that sentence? Why teach a negative sentence first?
Yeah.
Why not teach, I am a tech genius? Why focus on the lack of skill?
It's a strategic choice, and a very smart one. It's because I am not very tech savvy is a safety phrase. It's a tool for survival.
A safety phrase. What do you mean?
I mean, if you're a learner and you're traveling in an English-speaking country and you can't figure out the ticket machine at the train station, or you're stuck at the self-checkout in the grocery store,
Yeah.
you need to be able to tell someone you need help.
Ah, I see what you're saying. It's a call for help.
It's a polite and effective call for help. If you walk up to an employee and say, "Excuse me, I am not very tech savvy," what happens? Their whole demeanor changes.
They become more patient.
Instantly. They slow down, they understand the problem isn't that you're being difficult, it's that you're struggling with the interface. It invites help. So it's a functional survival phrase. It turns a potential moment of embarrassment into a moment of successful communication.
That's a great point. It empowers the learner to admit a weakness without, losing face. It's a tool in itself.
It is.
Okay, so moving on to section 4. We have tech savvy. But what kind of tech are we even talking about? This brings us to the next word from the script, cutting edge.
CUTTING-EDGE.
The definition they give is pretty straightforward. The newest and most advanced.
I've always liked that term. It evokes this image of a sharp knife or a blade, something that's pushing forward, cutting through the old stuff to reveal what's new.
And the comparison the script provides is really helpful here. It loops back to an earlier example.
The grandmother's washing machine.
Right. The script points out that the grandmother's washing machine was cutting edge back in 1960.
And that contextualizes the term so well, it teaches the learner that cutting edge is a relative term. It's not a permanent state for any object.
It's a moving target.
Completely. A robot vacuum seems cutting edge today, but in 20 years, it'll just be a normal, maybe even an old appliance. In 50 years, it'll be in a museum.
That's so true. It reminds us that technology is always in motion.
And the practice sentence they give is simple but effective. This is cutting-edge technology. It's a phrase you can use to describe a new phone, a new car, a new medical device.
So why does this matter for a learner? Why bother with cutting edge when you could just say new? Why make it more complicated?
Because of nuance. The word new just means you bought it recently. I can buy a new pair of socks. Are my socks cutting edge?
Probably not, unless they have Bluetooth built in.
Right. Unless they have Bluetooth-powered heaters, they're just socks. The word cutting edge implies something more. It implies innovation, research, a real leap forward.
So it helps the learner distinguish between just a standard replacement and a genuine technological advance.
Exactly. It elevates their conversation from basic description, like this is new, to a more sophisticated analysis, like this is cutting edge. That's a big step for a learner.
That distinction is crucial. Okay, let's apply this directly to the daily routine. Section 5 of the script is all about the smart home and what it calls automatic living.
We're moving into the morning routine. The script has the character Mary describing her home. She mentions having smart lights and automatic curtains.
And there's our next word, automatic. The definition given is simple. They open by themselves.
But again, it's the scenario that sells it. It's the story. Mary doesn't just state a fact. She describes the experience. She says the curtains open, and it's like they're saying, "Good morning, Mary, the sun is here."
And John, the other character, immediately says it sounds like something from a movie.
Right. It paints such a vivid picture. You're lying in bed, you wake up, and the curtains just glide open on their own. It feels magical. It feels like you're living in the Jetsons or some other sci-fi film.
And by associating the word automatic with that magical movie-like feeling, the word sticks. It's aspirational.
It is. But then, and this is what I think the source material does so well, it grounds the concept. It brings it back down to earth with a much more boring example later on in the word tour review section.
Oh, which one is that?
It says the office door is automatic. You don't need to pull it.
I missed that. That's brilliant. So you have the magical automatic curtains that greet the sun, and you have the totally practical, boring automatic door that just lets you into the building.
Precisely. It shows the full range of the word. It goes from luxury to pure utility, from a wow moment to an oh, okay moment that you don't even notice. It teaches the learner that automatic isn't always exciting, but it's always about things happening without your direct physical effort.
That's a great way to cover all the bases for a word.
Ah.
Now let's move from the bedroom to the kitchen. Section 6 is called Kitchen Chaos, and the key word here is gadgets.
GADGET, and the definition is a small tool or machine.
The character Mary seems to be a bit of a collector when it comes to gadgets. The script says she has a gadget for eggs, a gadget for her watch.
A gadget for everything.
This reflects the tech life theme perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
We just accumulate these little single-purpose tools. We have junk drawers full of them.
We do, but the real lesson and the humor comes from John's struggle with his gadget.
The blender story. We touched on this earlier, but let's really unpack it. He says his blender has 20 buttons.
20 buttons on a blender. Just think about that for a second.
And he delivers that amazing metaphor. I feel like I am flying a plane just to make a banana smoothie. This is a perfect example of that warmth and story expansion the production notes were calling for.
It's so funny because it's so true. Why does a blender need a pulse setting and a crush setting and a smoothie setting and a puree setting and a liquefy setting? What's the difference?
It's just intimidating. You just want to mix some fruit and milk together. You don't want to have to get a pilot's license first.
Exactly. And for a language learner, hearing this is so validating. They're already navigating the complexity of learning English. When they hear a native speaker like John getting frustrated with a simple blender, they can relax a little. They realize, okay, it's not just me. Even native speakers find this world ridiculous sometimes.
It builds that sense of shared experience. And then just like with Automatic, the script provides a much simpler, more practical example.
It does. It says, I bought a cool gadget that keeps my coffee hot.
That is a classic gadget. It's useful, it's small, it's specific.
And it helps create a clear category in the listener's mind. A refrigerator isn't a gadget. It's an appliance. It's big. It's essential. It stays in one place. But a little USB-powered coffee warmer, that's a gadget. It's fun. It's probably unnecessary, but it's cool.
That's a very clear distinction. Okay, so we've unpacked the philosophy, the main themes, and the core vocabulary. Now we get to section 7, practical application. The source actually gives the listener homework.
It does. It pushes them towards active learning. The host in the script asks a listener to look around their room right now.
I love that immediacy. It's not, think about this later. It's, do this now. The instruction is, find one gadget.
And the questions they prompt the listener to ask are perfect review tools. They're designed to reactivate all the vocabulary we've just learned.
Right. The questions are, is it automatic? Is it cutting edge? Is it old?
And then they bring back that running joke about John's TV. The character Mary asks, is the gadget old like John's TV?
And John immediately jumps in to defend himself. He says, hey, my TV's not that old. It has at least 3 colors.
That little bit of banter at the end is so important. It keeps the energy up. It reinforces the characters and reminds us that this is a friendly conversation, not a dry lecture. John isn't just a teacher, he's a person.
And finally, the script wraps up with the word tour.
A structured review. They walk through the 4 key terms one last time: tech-savvy, cutting-edge, automatic, and gadget, and they provide a new, specific example sentence for each one.
Let's quickly look at those sentences, because they're chosen carefully. For tech-savvy, the example is, my nephew fixed my laptop in 2 minutes.
So relatable. The nephew or the grandchild is so often the family's unpaid IT support. It instantly implies a generational gap in skills.
For cutting edge, this new hospital has cutting-edge equipment.
That's a great choice. It shows the word is used in serious, high-stakes contexts, not just for consumer electronics. Cutting edge here implies safety, progress, better medical care.
For automatic, the office door is automatic.
Pure utility, the background noise of everyday life.
And for gadget, I bought a cool gadget that keeps my coffee hot.
Personal convenience, a small pleasure. So across those 4 examples, you've covered family, health, work, and personal life. It's a full spectrum.
So when you step back and look at the whole thing, what's the big takeaway? This source material, it's more than just a script. It really feels like a blueprint for how to teach a language effectively.
It absolutely is. It turns a simple, relatable conversation about curtains and smoothies into this really well-structured lesson. It uses spelling to slow down the brain. It uses pauses to give you time to process. And it uses humor and stories to make the vocabulary sticky, to make it memorable.
The source also gives a little tease for an episode 2.
It does. The topic is communication and life. It says it will be about how gadgets help us talk to people far away.
Or how they make us quiet at the dinner table.
Exactly. That sounds like a fascinating follow-up.
It implies a real shift in focus, doesn't it?
A huge one. It's the next logical step. It moves from what are these tools to what is the social impact of these tools. Once you have the words for the things themselves, you need the words to talk about how those things are changing us.
That's a deep topic. So before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on.
Sure. The central question of the source script is, are we surrounded by tech? We've talked about gadgets and automatic doors. So here's my challenge to you, the listener. As you go about your daily routine tomorrow morning, from the moment you wake up, I want you to try and consciously label every single piece of technology, every gadget you touch in English.
Ooh, that's a good one. So the alarm clock on your phone, the electric toothbrush, the coffee maker,
The microwave, the badge scanner you use to get into your office, the elevator button, the automatic soap dispenser in the bathroom. Just name them one by one.
And what's the point of doing that?
The point is to ask yourself this question. Does consciously naming them in English change how you see your dependence on them? When you realize you have to say the word gadget or automatic 20 times before you've even had breakfast, you really start to understand just how surrounded you truly are.
That is a powerful thought. It forces you to notice what's become invisible. Are we really using the tools, or are the tools in some way using us? And maybe more importantly for our listeners.
Can we talk about it in English?
Exactly. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Find your own audio room, find that quiet space, and keep practicing.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Tech Life series. We'll catch you next time.